One of the biggest names in American R&B and hip-hop appears in a federal courtroom, accused of sex trafficking and racketeering.
Welcome to Inside Evil Interrogations, where we dissect the intricate details of high-profile criminal cases through forensic analysis. Today, we're looking into the interview of Sean "Puffy" Combs, a prominent figure in the music industry, recorded in March 1998. This interview took place shortly after the tragic loss of his close friend and artist, Notorious Big, Biggie Smalls. Recently, Combs has faced serious allegations that have resurfaced, adding another layer to his complex public persona. In this analysis, we will explore his responses, body language, and the psychological strategies employed throughout the interview, reflecting both his emotional state and his attempts to manage his public image during a tumultuous period. Make sure to subscribe to Inside Evil Interrogations for more in-depth analyses of high-profile cases and the psychology behind criminal behavior. Like this video and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest episodes. Sean "Puffy" Combs begins the interview with a composed and cooperative demeanor, detailing the events surrounding the tragic night when his close friend and artist, Biggie Smalls, was killed. His recollection of events is precise and structured, indicating that he may have rehearsed this narrative before the interview. This structured storytelling suggests a strong desire to control the narrative, which is a common tactic for individuals in high-stress situations, particularly those under scrutiny. Psychologically, Combs's demeanor and choice of words during this segment reflect an attempt to distance himself from the chaotic and violent circumstances of that night. By focusing on logistical details, such as security measures and the decision to leave the party, he frames himself as a responsible and professional figure caught in an unpredictable situation. His calm tone and specific recollections are indicative of someone who is acutely aware of the legal and public implications of his statements. Given the recent serious allegations against him, this measured response could be seen as part of a broader pattern of behavior aimed at maintaining an image of control and professionalism, despite underlying accusations of misconduct. His ability to present a coherent and controlled narrative, even when discussing emotionally charged events, aligns with traits often seen in individuals who possess a high degree of self-discipline and psychological compartmentalization.
Hi, I'm Kurt Loder with MTV News. The show you're about to see is a conversation with producer, performer, and all-round record mogul Puffy Combs. It was recorded last March, just after the murder of Puffy's friend and protege Biggie Smalls, the notorious B.I.G., and before the posthumous release of Biggie's album Life After Death. Puffy, a behind-the-scenes man, had already become a star in his own right with his #1 hit, Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. He, of course, had not yet recorded his Biggie tribute, I'll Be Missing You, or released his own hit album, No Way Out. He was, however, his own eloquent self, as you're about to see.
I wonder if for hopefully the last time you could take us through what happened on the night that Biggie was killed. I mean, you guys show up at a party, right? And you're not expecting anything to go wrong, obviously. What proceeded to transpire?
Okay, Biggie, myself, we decided to go out to LA because we shot the video out there. It was just better production value out in Los Angeles, the place where they make movies and everything. So we decided to go out there and shoot the video. And while he was out there, he wanted to also do as much damage control as he could do as far as what was done to himself and his career, as far as him so-called being involved in this East Coast, West Coast rivalry. So he wanted to go out there and make sure that the fans heard him say it. So he was doing radio interviews and press interviews, and also he was doing rehearsal for spring break and shooting his video. And that's all he was doing. And he decided, and also Soul Train Music Awards being presented there with myself. And we decided to go out to the party because we felt it was a private party. It wasn't like we were trying to be out and being seen all over the place. We were trying to go out and go there because it was a private party. So the night of the party, we went there and we basically sat at a table all night, and a lot of people were coming and giving us positive greetings, and everybody at the party was just having a good time and dancing. And we were sitting there just talking all night and just listening to everybody else's music and listening to our own records and feeling a sense of proudness hearing a record and just seeing all the people dance to your music, because that's why we got into this. And so as time progressed, the party had got too crowded and the fire marshals had shut the party down. And so Biggie had a broken leg at the time, so it took us a while to get out. So we finally walked out because he was just walking with a cane. Yeah. And we got out, so we stood outside for like 5 minutes, and we just talked for a little bit, just about regular things that we talk about, nothing really with Billy. He talked about his album a little bit and just talked to me. We were just talking about things that two guys talk about, you know what I'm saying? About the party, girls, whatever. And then we got into the cars. We just said it's time to leave. And my car was in front. Biggie was in the middle, and then another security vehicle was behind, which had the off-duty officers in. And we left out of the driveway of the parking lot, and we made a right. And as we made the right, we were just driving, and the vehicles were one behind each other. And I was looking straight ahead, basically, and I just heard shots ring out. And when the shots rang out, I had immediately did the human reaction. I had just ducked down, and everybody in the car ducked down. And then our car was still, had like sped off, and then I heard somebody say Biggie's car had got shot at. And so, like, while my car was moving, I had just opened the door, and the driver, he stopped, and I had jumped out, and I had ran to the car, and I had immediately did that because I knew his leg was broke, so I know there's no way he could have made it out of the car. And then when I went there to the car, I opened up the door, and he was hunched over, and I was trying to talk to him and trying to move him over, and I was trying to tell somebody to call 911, but I was like, by the time they get here, I didn't know what was going on because he wasn't talking back to me, so I just told one of the drivers of security to just jump in the car, just take me to the nearest hospital, please. And we were rushing to the hospital, and there were other cars that were with us and other people that were just following us. And as we got there, everybody helped him out of the car, and I was just, as we were driving, I was talking to him, but I wasn't hearing anything. He wasn't saying anything. And I was just getting scared, because I was just like, I didn't know, like, I was like, why isn't he talking to me? And I was just getting scared, but I just started praying.
Combs shifts focus to the impact of Biggie's death on his family, particularly on Biggie's mother and Faith Evans. He speaks with warmth and respect, portraying them as resilient figures who provided support to everyone around them. This shift from his own experience to that of Biggie's loved ones serves to deflect attention from his personal involvement in the conflict and to frame himself as a supportive friend rather than as someone who could have contributed to the tensions that led to the tragedy. This segment reflects a carefully managed narrative. By emphasizing the strength of Biggie's family, Combs positions himself as part of a community in mourning, subtly aligning himself with the victims rather than the perpetrators of the violence that had plagued the hip-hop scene. This alignment is particularly important in light of the recent serious allegations against him, as it contrasts sharply with the image of someone who allegedly manipulated and exploited others for personal gain.
Over him and praying and just trying to tell him just to stay in there, and then when we got to the hospital, everybody had jumped out the cars and helped to pick him up and got him on a stretcher, and the surgeons, they had immediately rushed him back into the emergency room. And then everybody there just dropped to their knees and started praying because it just didn't look good, it didn't feel good. And that's what happened. And then they came and told us, that he had passed, and it was just unbelievable.
How are Biggie's mom and Faith and the kids taking all this? Have they bounced back at all, or are they still?
Their moms and Faith, Biggie's moms and Faith and the children are extremely strong. They've been, matter of fact, they've been strong for me and helping to hold me up. And it's just, his mother is just such a beautiful woman, you know what I'm saying? And she's from the church, and I'm just so happy that their relationship was good when, you know, before he passed. And she's a very strong woman, and Faith is very strong. And I'm going to be there for them, just like he would be there for them, to make sure that they're all right.
A number of reports have come out. Time magazine and the LA Times have pointed out, people that we've talked to also, that Bad Boy Entertainment had actually hired Crips for security work out on the West Coast. Is that true?
We've never hired Crips or any other gang faction to do security for us. What is the misconception is that because we're young and we black, like, we're not handling business just like anybody else. We're trying our best to handle business just like any other businessman that's out there in the world. And it would be extremely unintelligent to hire some gangs to do security for you. We have never, emphatically never hired any gangs for security. As a matter of fact, when we were out there, we had off-duty California police officers as security with us that night that it happened also. And we always have bonded security professionals that are with us.
I mean, I know Compton police have said that that's what they've heard from gang informants, that there have been...
It's not the truth. I'm here to make sure I tell you the truth.
Is it possible that someone below you could have done this? I mean, maybe...
It's not possible. I have a small boutique label, and I take responsibility for everything that comes from my label. And I know for a fact that this is something that has never happened. And I heard your report about an affidavit from the Compton police, but I'm just here to say that it's not the truth.
Yeah.
No one, and I see everything. I sign off on everything that's done. And I know the security that we hired were bonded security men and also off-duty California police officers, just like, you know, that's the same route Madonna would take, or, you know, anybody that's in entertainment to, you know, Sylvester Stallone would hire bonded security people. And that's what we did.
After Tupac died, I mean, there was a general feeling, this has got to stop. We really have to change in what's going on in rap and hip hop. And after Biggie was killed, I think it was that same...
One thing I want to say, not to stop you, is it's not a problem just of rap and hip hop. This is a problem that's out in the communities. I mean, we're talking about it now more because it's in our face, because we lost two people that we cared about and that were stars and was important to what we did. But this is a problem that mothers and family members and people are facing every day. And it's not just fair that everybody run to it now because it's Tupac or Biggie. It's happening every day. We need to put a stop to it just because we're killing each other, and it needs to stop.
Welcome back to a conversation with Sean Puffy Combs. Combs and his friend Notorious B.I.G. were early architects, on video anyway, of the glitzy, babe-filled player lifestyle. For Biggie Smalls, however, that sort of street-style swagger was mainly an acquired characteristic.
You said, what was Biggie like when you first met him? I mean, he was kind of...
When I first met Biggie, he was real quiet and shy. Yeah, he was real quiet and shy. He would barely talk, you know.
Really?
Like I would have to force him to talk, to have a conversation with me. He would just be there and observing, and it was just that, you know, he didn't know it was such a big deal. This was a dream come true to finally have a chance to be a rapper. That, you know, I think he was overwhelmed by it. He just wanted to be quiet and just, you know, enjoy it and not, you know, it's almost like, you know, if you talk too loud in a room, somebody may kick you out. You know what I'm saying? I think he wanted to make sure he stayed in the room. Did
he change a lot between Ready to Die and Life After Death? I mean, was he a different person after
as a person, he changed a lot. Like there was, on Ready to Die, it was real personal. It wasn't like, he wasn't really enjoying making the music as much.
Combs addresses the East Coast-West Coast rivalry, distancing himself from the conflict and portraying himself and Biggie as peacemakers caught in the crossfire. This narrative is strategic, as it shifts the focus away from any possible provocations on his part. His emphasis on peace and non-involvement serves to counteract the image of him as a potential instigator of violence, which is crucial given the current allegations of coercive and violent behavior. His use of emotionally charged language, describing the rivalry as tragic and destructive, suggests an attempt to convey a sense of regret and helplessness. This emotional framing, combined with his previous denials, creates a complex picture of a man who is both deeply affected by the violence in his community and attempting to absolve himself of any responsibility for it. From a psychological perspective, this segment reflects a high degree of self-awareness and strategic communication. Combs is carefully balancing his portrayal as a victim of circumstance with an underlying assertion of control over his narrative, which is a hallmark of individuals accustomed to navigating high-stakes situations.
He was just trying to give you his story. On this album, on Life After Death, he really enjoyed making the music. And then he's had a son since then and a daughter. And I mean, just his family life. He enjoyed his kids a lot more. And just as a person, he was growing as a person. We all, you know, we're in this and we're blessed to have the success that we have at a young age. But at the same time, it's like we're still just growing up. We're still making mistakes.
Do you look back now on the whole East Coast versus West Coast thing? Do you just wonder what was that all about? I mean, have you figured out what it was all about?
No, I mean, I haven't figured out what it was all about. I just know it was something that was negative that I would say fans ran with, the media ran with, a lot of artists ran with. And it's just something that got out of control as far as from a divide and conquer situation. It would be self-defeating for me as a person having a record company and a person that's trying to be successful all over the world to alienate half of the country that I'm making music for. You know, it would be unintelligent. And then the whole time we were going through it, we were so embarrassed.
What did you feel when Tupac put out the Hit 'Em Up, the single, and just took Biggie apart? I mean, Biggie must have been destroyed by that, was he not?
No, I mean, he was hurt not because of the words, because he was just like, he didn't really understand why this man had so much hatred for him, you know what I'm saying? Biggie, knowing myself, had nothing to do whatsoever of Tupac being robbed or shot in New York City at the studio.
And as you point out, Tupac saw the people that shot him, so...
Had no knowledge of him going to be robbed, and we that's just a fact. Anything else is a fantasy. And when Biggie heard it, he was hurt by it because he really regarded Tupac as a friend. They had good times. That's how they met. Their relationship before that situation is that they were friends, and he would never do nothing, nor myself or anybody associated with me would have never done nothing to hurt him. And in fact, he had helped us when Biggie was first getting out there. They were together. He would let Biggie open dates for him. And I mean, he was appreciative and I was appreciative, and it was a shock to us. And it's something that we tried our best to do anything to alleviate any type of negativities as far as that situation. That's why we never made any records. Going back, we never said any negative statements. And the statements that we did say was that we want a resolution to it in a positive way. Everybody has to be accountable, even myself. I have to be accountable and have to be responsible to bring my son up the right way, and I have to be accountable and responsible for even the music that I put out. I have to do whatever I could do to put as much positivity out there. And and I'm not talking about just going out there and making a record, stop the violence. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about making records that give you a good feeling, making sure that I understand what's coming out of one of my artists' mouths and how I could use my intelligence and my wisdom of things that I've seen to try to make sure that you get your point across as an artist, but also at the same time, maybe you could say it another way and get your point across to where it won't look like you think this is all right, because this is not all right.
Could you give us anything specific? I mean, is there any specific time somebody has tried to do a rap that you changed a little bit? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, you know, Biggie has wrote that I did change, you know.
In what way?
I mean, he would be saying something just to try to get his point across as far as rap-wise, just trying to relate one thing to another. And it could have come across in a negative way. Like he said, one time he said, he was talking about how he had a song on his first album called Give Me the Loot. And he was talking about how he went in, he had to rob somebody in order to survive, in order to eat, and just that at that point. But at the same time, it was just it was a story to him that was just entertainment. But there was one line in there that said, I don't care if you're pregnant, give me the baby rings and the #1 mom pendant. And I was like, you gotta say that a different way. That's just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Like, you have to care if somebody's pregnant. And, you know, I tried my best to do that as much, but even I have to be accountable that
and connect with
maybe also I should have done it more.
This
and I have
narrative
to,
shift from business mogul to
be accountable for that.
serves multiple purposes. It distances him from the cutthroat reputation associated with business executives and highlights a more personal, relatable side. This portrayal is particularly relevant given the allegations of exploitation and manipulation that have surfaced, as it attempts to frame him as someone driven by creativity and passion rather than power and control. His admission of editing Biggie's lyrics for content deemed too aggressive is a subtle way of presenting himself as a gatekeeper of responsible messaging. This assertion of moral authority contrasts sharply with the current allegations of his coercive and abusive behavior, suggesting a deliberate attempt to juxtapose his public persona with the accusations against him. When discussing his personal struggles after Biggie's death, Combs appears to let down his guard, describing feelings of helplessness and emotional paralysis. This moment of vulnerability, while poignant, can also be viewed as a strategic move to evoke sympathy and humanize himself. In the context of the serious criminal charges he currently faces, this emotional display could be interpreted as an attempt to counteract the public perception of him as a powerful and potentially dangerous figure. His narrative of struggling to move forward, despite the loss, paints a picture of resilience and emotional depth. This portrayal stands in stark contrast to the allegations of systematic exploitation and abuse, creating a complex and sometimes contradictory image. From a forensic psychology standpoint, this duality can reflect a sophisticated ability to compartmentalize different aspects of his identity, presenting a controlled and compassionate front while maintaining underlying behavioral patterns that are more problematic.
Can't nobody hold me down. Oh, no.
Welcome back to a conversation with Sean Puffy Combs. Even when he was a little kid, Puffy Combs' mother always said he was a ham, and rather less warmly, rival mogul Suge Knight of Death Row Records also noted the New Yorker's attraction to the camera and the microphone. So it shouldn't surprise anyone that Combs has now taken the recording plunge himself and scored a #1 single with his debut effort, Can't Nobody Hold Me Down.
I always wanted to just be the best in entertainment that I could be. One reason why I like being a performer was because I got the chance to do it and experiment with it with my artists, just out of being young. I jumped on the stage with Biggie just out of being young and not wanting to be left out of the mix, you know what I'm saying, even though I was the CEO of the company. And when I saw how much joy it brought over people, that's what I liked. I liked seeing everybody rocking and everybody like just, you know, it's just like my motivation never came, and Biggie's never came just from the money or from the hit records. It came more, that was a part of it, but it came more from just there was times when we would be like, you know, in a limousine going somewhere, and we would look over to the right and there would be some kids in a car and they wouldn't know that we would see them. And you just see them bopping their heads real hard to our music. And that's why we got into it. It was as simple as that, and that's what made us feel good, because they didn't know we was there watching, and they was just enjoying something that we did, something that we produced, something that we were a part of. You get into it to like bring people joy. It's never supposed to be like this.
It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Why you want to take us under? Why you want to take us under?
Did you have any second thoughts? I wondered about using that sample from The Message on your single. That's sort of a, you know, it's sort of a very important song in hip hop.
Yeah.
I mean, you just kind of.
I didn't have any second thoughts because the message I was trying to put on top of the message that was out there, I think was going right on the same path.
Yeah.
The song "Can't Nobody Hold Me Down" was like, you can make it no matter what obstacles you have that you're faced with. You can make it, and I felt like that was something that also kids needed to hear, just like they heard Players Anthem by Biggie Smalls, or they heard Juicy, or heard a lot of the stuff that other stuff that I've done, even the stuff with 112 and stuff. I thought that was important also.
Yeah. I mean, Flash or any of the guys called you up and said, way to go, or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, I speak to Flash all the time.
Yeah.
Flash loved it, Flash loved it, and he was proud of it.
Yeah.
And I thank him and people just, I know the forefathers of hip hop, when they started this, they started this for a way for us to do better, and they were proud of us that we were doing good.
Yeah.
And where we had taken what they started, the point we had tried to take it to, and we're constantly trying to take it to, they were always supportive.
Yeah.
But I know even them, nobody would ever want hip hop to be looked at like the way it's being looked at today.
Yeah. And the future seems bright for you. I mean, you've got so much stuff going on, but how do you exactly get started on the future? Like, when you leave here today, can you just go back and start the business, or do you just want to think a little bit?
To me, it doesn't feel bright, and that's just honestly speaking. It just, as you were saying before, just trying to make sense out of it. You know what I'm saying? You can't get to no brightness until, it's just so hard trying to make sense out of, why he's not here, and knowing what his intentions were, knowing what people that, try to make your intentions are to just make people bob their heads and throw their hands in the air and wave them like they just don't care. To not be here, it's just not. I just have to get past that, and I don't know when I'm gonna be able to get past that, but it's just that when something like this happens, it's just like you sit up, I wake up every morning, I just can't believe it. I wake up and I just thinking that it's a dream, but it's reality, and it's just like when you're used to speaking to somebody, it's things that people are going through. There's millions of people all over the world right now that are going through the things that I'm going through. It's like you wake up and you're used to that person calling, and they're not calling, used to laughing with that person, used to the good times, and they're not there, so it's hard to even think about anything else. It's just like a state where I'm stuck. But
Sean
I'm
Puffy
not going to give up.
responses throughout the interview reveal a complex interplay of vulnerability, strategic communication, and narrative control. His ability to present a coherent and sympathetic image, even when discussing deeply traumatic events, reflects a high degree of psychological compartmentalization and self-regulation. This skill set is critical in navigating both the public and legal challenges he currently faces, as it allows him to project a controlled and positive image despite serious accusations of coercion and exploitation. The recent charges against Combs, including racketeering conspiracy and sex trafficking, add a chilling context to his past behavior and statements. His composed and calculated demeanor during the interview, combined with his careful management of the narrative, suggests a profound understanding of how to navigate high-stakes situations, both personally and professionally. As the legal proceedings unfold, this interview serves as a compelling insight into the mind of a man whose public persona and private actions may be vastly different.